What's up, fellow Qiyana mains? You're about to learn everything important regarding Qiyana for Season 14. We will be going over runes, items, combos, and also explain how Qiyana is played in lane and in teamfights. Let's get right into it with runes and items. For runes, you basically have three options. I will go over the most common option first, which is Electrocute. If you go Electro, you basically always go for Sudden Impact, you go for Eyeball Collection, and you go for Relentless Hunter or Treasure Hunter. You can also go for Ultimate Hunter. There's also an argument to be made for Ingenious Hunter because you are using Profane Hydra and Humos most of the time, but I haven't really tried that out, so I can't really recommend it. Me personally, I enjoy Relentless most because you have a lot of roaming options over the map, and it just helps you to impact the map really well. As for second pages, we have a lot of different options. There's first of all Precision. This is a page that you can use in trade heavy matchups, starting off with Presence of Mind and Last Stand. If I say trade heavy matchups, what I mean is basically matchups where you can't really avoid trading. As for, let's say, Zed or Yawn, it's really hard to not trade against those champions. And Presence of Mind and Last Stand really gives you good trading power. So that's something you should definitely consider in those matchups. You will be learning which page to go for in the process, so it's really hard to just say straight up, oh, against this and that champion you take this and that rune page, you know? It's something you learn, and it's also something you basically try out and test, because every playstyle is also different. You can play Qiyana in different ways, you know? So after having Presence of Mind and having Last Stand, what you will go for is basically Adaptive Force twice and then Scaling Health. This is the best in basically every game. There's no game where I would go for something else. I don't think that Tenacity gives you that much value, and I also don't think that the Flat Health gives you that much value, even in harder matchups. You could maybe make the argument that you go for health scaling and for health, but I think that that basically takes away trading power from you, because you are basically giving away 9 Adaptive Force, which is not worth it. Going over to the next second page is Sorcery. I don't really use this. I know that Beifeng used this for some time. He uses Mana Flow Band and also Scourge. This is really good if you want to First Blood your enemy, basically, because Scourge gives you really good poking. And this can also be good against enemies that you can hit a lot. So it's something you can try out and you can play around with, but I wouldn't really bank on it. I'm not using this at all. I wouldn't really consider any of the other ones. You could try them out. Maybe there's something that the Qiyana world hasn't really discovered yet, but I don't really play any of these. So yeah, let's go on to the next one. The next one is basically Resolve. You have a couple of options here. You basically take the Resolve tree into matchups where you are getting traded extremely hard. Let's say Karma, for example. Let's say Orianna. Let's say Syndra. Let's say Nico. Let's say LeBlanc, right? These are matchups where you are taking the Resolve tree. You can go for Second Wind if they have a lot of constant poke, like, for example, Karma or Orianna. Or you can go for Bomb Plating if they have really hard engage, for example, Fizz, if you want to take Resolve into Fizz, right? So you have these two options. You don't really take any of these ones above. So the secondary rune that you will go for is either Overgrowth or Unflinching. I personally prefer Overgrowth. The health is really nice. And Unflinching is not really something I play around a lot, because, to be honest, if you get CC'd on Qiyana, you are most likely just going to pop anyways. So it's more important to play the fights like properly, because Tenacity is not really offering you that much. So this is the page that I go for most of the time into really hard matchups where people are just trading me all the time. And then we have the Inspiration tree, and this is probably my most important tree, if I'm being honest. Triple Tonic and Minion DMAT is just such a nice combination. The reason being is, no matter which matchup you play against, if you use this pot, like the level 3 pot, gain an Elixir of Avarice, you gain 40 gold when that Elixir basically expires, right? So if you combine that with the opportunity to just DMAT a minion and clear waves faster with your Rock Q early on, you are getting Dirk extremely early, especially if you are going for Longsword early on, right? So that's something you can always do. And then also you run TP, which means that you can just reset and get Dirk after 3 or 4 minutes, which is actually quite crazy. And that gives you really good trading power, and if you roam, you're really strong as well. So that's something I really enjoy doing. So yeah, these are the 4 pages you can basically go for if you run Electrocute. I run Inspiration, Resolve, and Presence of Mind most of the time. But actually Resolve and Inspiration are the most common ones. One typical matchup for Precision is probably Zed, because I mean, that's a really, really trade heavy matchup. He can basically force you to trade with him whenever he uses WEQ, and he uses that whenever it's on cooldown. So yeah, that's about Electrocute. Next page you could go for is First Strike. I don't really like this that much. I think the only time where I would actually go for First Strike is if you are playing against the Bruiser mid lane. So let's say Renekton, let's say Set. Or if you're playing against Vex, that's also one option, because Vex is just... I mean, I don't enjoy saying that something is unplayable, but Vex is just... You can't do anything. So going for a Scaling Rune right here is not that bad. You could go for First Strike. You could go for Triple Tonic, Minion Teammate, and then for Cosmic Insight. If you want, you can also go for Magical Footwear, and you can also go for Biscuits. You can also do that if you go for Electro, but I don't really like it. I think that Triple Tonic and DMAT is just the much better option, for me personally. And then you can basically go for two options right here. You can either go for Domination, which would be Sudden Impact, and then Ultimate Hunter, Relentless, Ingenious, or Treasure, as you prefer. Or you can go for Resolve and then also Bone Plating, Second Wind, and then also again like Overgrowth or Unflinching, depending on your personal preference. So these are the two rune pages you can go for. There's one last rune I want to cover because it's... I mean, you can go for it, but I don't really like it that much. And it's really just like 1% of the game, so I wouldn't really care about too much. I just want to mention it, you know. You have Conqueror, and then you basically have to go for Presence of Mind. You can go for either Tenacity or for Alacrity. If they don't have that much CC, Alacrity is definitely a good idea. Simply because the attack speed helps you with your empowered auto attacks. And then you have either Cut Down or Last Stand. I wouldn't really go for Coup de Grace because the rune is shit, to be completely honest. So yeah, that's basically what you can go for. Secondary is the same. You can either go for Sudden Impact and one of these runes, or you can go for, let's say, Resolve 3 with Bone Plating and Second Wind. Inspiration is also one option here. You can basically just pick and choose whatever you want, but I don't use this page that much. It's basically against matchups where you can run them down. Let's say Orianna is one you could maybe go that into, but this is also just for bruiser-ish item setups, and I don't run them at all, so this is not something I can really talk about from experience, you know. So you would really have to try out and see if you like it. But for me personally, this page is what I run most. Electrocute, Relentless Hunter, and then just Triple Tonic and Minion DMAT. And in some matchups, I basically have to go Resolve because it's really hard to play otherwise. And then this is the setup that I go for normally. Let's move on to the items. Alright guys, here we are on the Rift, and now we will be talking about items. So for items, I go for Longsword in, I would say, 90% of the games, and I go for Refillable as well. That basically always works, like almost always, simply because I'm TPing back to lane really early. It's just one kind of playstyle. So if you get a Longsword, you only need like, look at this, you only need 650 gold for Dirk. And Dirk is the item you always want to rush in every single game. I don't care like what enemy it is, Dirk is the item. You get lethality so fast because it's 100 gold cheaper than last season. And building off it is just really good. Even if you want to rush Profane, it's much better to go for Dirk first and then go for Profane. The power spike is just crazy. And if you have Triple Tonic and the Inspiration Tree generally speaking, you will get Dirk extremely fast because the first pot actually gives you 40 gold, and with Rock You and Minion DMAT you can just kill minions extremely fast and just get Dirk really early. So I go for Longsword and for Refillable most of the time. There are some heavy trading matchups where I like Doran's Blade or Doran's Shield. Doran's Blade is only something I go for in like heavy trading matchups, and also into certain matchups. Against Talon, for example, I really like it. Against Zed, I think it's really good. Against Yon, it can be really good. Against Yasuo, it can be really good. Against Fizz, it's really good. Doran's Shield is actually kind of meh. Instead of Doran's Shield, I still prefer to go for Longsword. Then I go for the Resolve 3, and then I just TP back into lane early, and then the hard part of the lane is basically over. So even if it's against Wave, if it's against Nico, I just go for Longsword, Refillable, Resolve with Second Wind, Overgrowth, and then I basically rush Dirk and TP back into lane because you will get out-traded. There's no way you win trades. You just have to minimize well in those matchups, okay? So that's how I approach early itemization with Qiyana. So let's say you get Dirk, right? The next item that you want to go for is either Profane, or you can basically rush Humos. So that's the main point behind going Dirk. I personally really like to go for Profane instantly after that. And what you can also do, depending on personal preference, as I said, you have to try out certain items here. You can also go for Dirk, then Boots, then Profane, and then Humos. Or you can go for Humos Rush as well. So Rectrix actually has the same price as Boots. So you can also go for Rectrix and then for Humos. Then maybe go for Boots and then for Profane. But that way you delay Profane like for a very long time, and I don't really like it. So let me clarify this. The hardest early game spike for sure is Dirk into Brutalizer, into let's say Boots, and then Profane. That's like hardest early game spike you can go for. Then you can basically pick and choose between Humos and between Hubris. I personally like both of them, kinda. It's a bit hard to decide. Like Humos gives you a lot of movement speed, nice stats. Hubris gives you ability haste though, and also more damage. So if you think that you would maybe lack damage with Humos, you can go for Hubris. Also, if you're already snowballing, Hubris is a great item, right? So you basically have to pick and choose. If you go for, let's say, Humos, the next item on your list would be Cyrildas in most of the games. Then you go for Edge of Night in most of the games. Where is it? It is actually here. And after Edge of Night, you are basically always going for Guardian Angel. So this would be the build that you are building if you go for Humos, right? So if you go back, what you can also do, let's say you go for Dirk into Boots and then you go for Profane. The next thing that you could basically go for is Hubris into Grudge, and then you can basically pick and choose what you need. You can go for Edge of Night and then also, as I said again, for Guardian's Angel. And this build is actually really good. With blue buff, you have 75 ability haste, which reduces your W cooldown by a lot, so you can basically play around that a lot more. And you can also, if you don't need Edge of Night, you can also go for Axiom Arc or Serpent's Fang. But, and this is really important, if you need Serpent's Fang, what I personally really like to do, I think it's extremely strong, you basically rush Humos with Boots, and then you rush Serpent's Fang because it's extremely cheap, right? You get it really fast, and if you need it, you need it. Like, if they have a Jenna, having Serpent's Fang is just really good. Or if they have a Karma, if they have something with shields, you know? So that's something you can basically consider, and then you can still go for Profane, or you can continue a completely different path, which is just extremely spicy and extremely fast from spiking, from a spiking perspective. And that's basically Humos, Serpents, Opportunity, Grudge, and then you go for GA. And then, if the game actually lasts longer, you can start selling those cheap items like Humos and basically get, let's say, Profane. You can basically get Axiom as well. So you can basically just pick and choose between those. But one thing always stays the same, and that is that you rush Dirk, you go for Profane, or you go for Serpents, basically, if you really have to go for it. And yeah, that's basically how you build Qiyana in Season 14. And I never do anything else. And also for boot options, you always go for Ionians. There is no real argument for something else, okay? So this is always the boot type that you go for. So one build that I really like to go for is you have Boots, you have Humos, you have Profane, you have Grudge, you have Edge of Night, or you can also go for Axiom if you don't need Edge of Night, right? And then you go for GA last, and in the end, so as a sixth item basically, you can sell your Ionians and you can get Spear of Shojin, right? That gives you a really nice spike as well, and then you have these items right here, and with Humos you also have some movement speed, so you don't like that much movement speed. So, yeah. You can't really get Black Cleaver at any time, because Black Cleaver, I mean, if you have Grudge, you, like, physically can't build Black Cleaver, so that's basically why you can't get it. It's relatively simple. Don't really ever go for Hexdrinker unless they have double AP, mid, and jungle, and then the build is basically either you rush Hexdrinker, so if you have Longsword, you can rush it and then go for Dirk, but I don't like that. So I would rather go for Dirk and then for MR and then for Hexdrinker. Then I would sit on Hexdrinker, build my items normally, like Humos and Ghostblade. Humos and Ghostblade, of course. Humos and Profane, and then after that you can go for Mouth Memorious. You can continue buying Boots and just finish the build. And instead of Edge of Night, you would basically have more. So then you would go for Grudge, and then you would go for GA, and then you would sell Boots, and then get Spear of Shojin, basically. So that's how I approach itemization with Qiyana, and there's not really much more to it. I don't think that mana immune builds are really that viable. I don't like them. I don't think that Eclipse is really viable because the build path is really messed up. You don't really have like early lethality, and I think early lethality is really important for assassins generally speaking, except for Zed, because for Zed and Talon maybe, for Zed and Talon, these items like synergize really well with like their kit as a whole, and having Eclipse and First Strike on those is just really good. So that's like an exception, but for Qiyana I think it doesn't work. Alright guys, moving on, we are talking about Qiyana's summoner spells first. There are only two real options. You always go for Flash, that's the first thing. The second thing is that I personally prefer TP over Ignite. I never run Ignite, I always go TP. It helps you to get Dirk first, as I said in the item section, and then basically TP back into lane. If you want, you can go for Ignite, but then the playstyle basically changes because you're not going for the Inspiration 3, okay? If you go Ignite, you always go Presence of Mind, and you go for Last Stand, or you go for the Sorcery build with Mana Flow Band and Scourge. It really depends on your personal preference and if you want to play aggressive, but I personally can't really solo kill enemies pre-3 or like at level 3 in like low masters or even like mid masters because people are just too aware of it, right? It's much easier to kill them level 6 when you actually have early Dirk and they don't expect it. So that's my approach on Qiyana. So basically surprise them with extra damage and with the pot that you get, level 6, the Elixir of Force, and the additional gold that you get from your Inspiration 3. That's how I approach it, because you are most likely not killing your enemy early on, and if you want to play for that, it's basically a coin flip. Okay, so now that we have runes, items, summoner spells out of the way, let's talk about the spicy stuff, you know, about the combos. And before we get into the combos, we actually have to talk about Qiyana's abilities and more, like really importantly, her animation cancels. Animation cancels are the reason why you can actually do your combos extremely fast, right? So let's first of all explain her abilities, right? If you look at Qiyana's abilities, she has her passive first. Qiyana's first attack or ability against an enemy champion deals bonus damage. And you can see that on, like with a ring below the enemy champion. So if I basically don't have any element, right, and I auto attack the enemy, you can see there's a ring that's popping off. And if I use, so I have like 89 DPS, and if I use another auto, it's basically like less, right? So right now you can see it's like 77 DPS. So I deal less damage if the ring is right here. This ring resets if you actually grab an element, right? So if I grab an element and use an auto, I actually deal additional damage again. So I have, again, 89 DPS, which is just more damage. Let's first of all explain Qiyana's Q, okay? So, Qiyana's Q has basically 4 forms, right? First of all, you have the unempowered version of it. It's actually quite tiny, but it can be really important to actually deal damage, right? So you can use it at the beginning of your combo and then follow up afterwards. I'll go over that later on in the combo section, alright? So this is her unempowered Q. And it's really important that you don't miss out on it completely and that you use it in certain scenarios, okay? Then you basically have Rock Q. Rock Q deals additional damage when the enemy's HP is below 50%. So if this dummy right here would have less than 50% and you use Q on him, right, it would actually deal additional damage. So that's basically how it works. And Rock Q is only used for execution purposes. So you're most of the time using it after your entire combo has been done. And then when you want to kill the enemy, you are basically using your Rock Q, right? The next ability that we have is Ice Q, right? So Ice Q roots the enemy for half a second, or for like 1 second, and in that time you can basically follow up. It's most of the time used for either escaping reasons, so you are Ice Qing behind you and then running away, so the enemy is actually rooted, or for engaging reasons. So if you want to set up for your team, if you want to flash someone, Ice Q is most of the time the Q that's used for engages, right? So now that we have that out of the way, let's actually move on with Grass Q. Grass Q is actually your most used element, okay? It has many different purposes. Grass Q is used to actually use a shroud on the ground, right? So if you use Grass Q, a shroud appears, and within the shroud you are invisible. Okay, that shroud disappears after 3.5 seconds. It's the most used element, and it's used for trading, it's used for utility, it's used for escaping, for initiating fights, and especially in the later parts of the game, for sneaking into the enemy, right? Because you can use grass and move forward and they can't see you. And then you can maybe grab ice or grab another grass and try to sneak onto the backline. It's really a good tool. And using grass and also humus within grass helps you a lot with sneaking into enemy backlines, because it's really hard to approach them otherwise, okay? So grass is really, really important. But we will talk about exact combos later on, okay? So now that we have that out of the ground, let's actually talk about Qiyana's W. Qiyana's W is a really interesting ability. First of all, Qiyana's W basically makes you grab an element, right? You can grab rock, you can grab ice, or you can grab grass. As you can see, there's a ring right here, and this ring indicates where your cursor has to be to actually grab the element. As you can see, right now, my cursor is not even on the ice, and I can still grab ice. Because it's like a small hitbox that you have, okay? And it's the same with rock, right? So if I'm standing here and I want to grab rock, look, right here I can already grab rock, and I'm not even close to the wall because the ring is actually close to it. And you can use that to your advantage, so you don't have to walk that far to actually grab an element, alright? And it's actually the same for grass. So if you look at this right here, you can do the same thing with grass. You don't have to click on it exactly to actually grab it, okay? And now I want to talk about certain areas where you are actually grabbing your element. So what are important areas to grab your element? The first one is this bush right here. You can grab grass right here. And it's really good if you are standing on the tower, right? And if you want to grab grass on the tower. You can grab rock everywhere, basically, so I'm not really covering that. And ice is just grabbed right here in this spot, right? So by clicking onto this river part right here, you can actually grab ice. And what's really important here is that you don't really have many different options. Like, you always go for grass in lane, and then you rotate to ice most of the time. Like, let's say you have like, I don't know, you have grass right here, you Q the enemy, and then you're rotating to ice. And then if you either want to use your ice Q, you can use your ice Q and then grab grass again, right? And that just repeats over and over, so you can have that rotation, alright? But for my elo specifically, grabbing rock really often on the tower is actually really good because I can execute minions, right? As I said, you deal additional damage. So these are the different things you can basically do with your W. You just grab elements, and you can just abuse the hitbox. That's the next thing, and also make sure that you abuse these spots right here. But that's a really basic thing, right? And Qiyana mains already know that, right? So you have this spot right here, that spot right here, and you have that spot right there. And it's basically the same here. You can grab grass here, which is actually quite annoying though, because it's quite far away, and you can also grab ice there, okay? So let's move on. Next we have Qiyana's E. Qiyana's E is explained really, really fast. You can either dash to the enemy, right? So let's say you are standing far away from the enemy, you're dashing to it, and if you're standing close to the enemy, you can actually dash through it, so it's a fixed distance. That's basically all you need to know about Qiyana's E, Audacity. Next up, we are talking about Qiyana's R, Supreme Display of Talent. So with Qiyana's R, you basically send out a shockwave, which knocks the enemy back, right? After knocking people back, right, if you hit a terrain, you basically create an area that detonates, and within that area, every enemy is getting stunned and damaged, right? So if you see right here, this area pops up, it detonates, and it stuns the enemy, okay? This doesn't only work on walls, this also works on water, as you can see, right here. So if I use it on water, there's a stunned area right here as well, and I also get damaged in that area. And it's also appearing right here on the grass section of things. So right here you also have a section which is grass. If you look closely, right, there's an area right here, that shroud thing, and in that area people are also getting stunned and damaged, okay? That's basically everything you need to know for now about Qiyana's R. Let's now talk about the most important thing for Qiyana's combos, okay? And that's basically animation cancels. Animation cancels are extremely important, and I will briefly go over every single animation cancel that you can do with Qiyana. You can cancel almost every ability of Qiyana, and I'm going to show you how. The W can be cancelled with your E, and this is probably one of the most important animation cancels. So if you look at this, if you want to use QW, for example, right? QW, Qiyana is dashing to the side after you press the Q, right? But if you press QWE, the animation of the W is not even visible. So you can use your next Q much faster, right? So let's repeat this, okay? Q, W, Q, right? Or you are using QWQ, or QWEQ, sorry, because you are canceling your W with your E, right? So that's the first and really important animation cancel that you can actually apply. If you do it really fast, you don't even see the W animation. So let me just repeat this. You didn't even see that I used my second W, right? But I did use it and it did go through. The E can also be cancelled with your W. This is not really used that often, to be honest. Most of the time you are just using this to juke your enemies. So let's say you are Eing onto this enemy, right? Or away from him. You can W away immediately, right? So you can basically E and then W immediately to actually cancel your E animation. I think it's even better visible if you E towards an enemy, right? Before even reaching it, you can W away, and that way you can cancel your W animation. So that's another thing that you can use to juke enemies, basically. And I don't think there are many other uses for it, okay? The next really important animation cancel is Qiyana's R, okay? This animation cancel has won me so many games. It's actually insane. So it basically works like this. You can use Qiyana's R normally, okay? Or you can use Qiyana's R with flash, okay? And there are two ways to do this, alright? The first one is a lot slower. And the second one is just extremely fast. And I want you to use the second one only. You can either use flash R. And if you use flash R, Qiyana is standing still for like half a second. And that's already enough time for the enemy to flash most of the time if they are playing ADC, because they have really good reaction times, okay? So, if you are using flash R, it's slow. If you buffer your... Look exactly at Qiyana, okay? Look exactly at the character. If you use R before using flash, you can actually cancel the animation, right? So I use R before using flash. And you can already see it. Like, the animation starts on Qiyana before I actually use my flash. And if you press it immediately afterwards, the R comes out immediately and it just drops by, you know? It just explodes. It's much faster. And after that, you can follow up with combos. I'll go over that later on, as I already said. This is really important for team fights especially, and also for later stages in the game, where you basically have to surprise the enemy ADC or the enemy mid laner, right? Whoever is basically like the win condition of the enemy team. Keep that in mind, using R flash and not flash R. This is really, really important, okay? Now that we have everything set up for you to actually learn Qiyana's combos properly, let's start with Qiyana's level 1. With Qiyana, you're leveling W or Q in every single game, basically level 1. This is kind of personal preference. With Q, you can basically farm from a distance. And with W, you already have 1 Q rotation as soon as you hit level 2. Okay, this is really important. And that's also why W basically gives you a stronger level 2 already, right? So let's actually say, I'm level 1 right now, okay? And I can use my Q to farm from distance. It's nice, you know, it's comfortable, it's good. After hitting level 2, I have to grab an element, because I currently don't have one. And then I can use my empowered Q, right? If you start with W, let's say with Grass or with Rock, it doesn't really matter. And I hit level 2 now. I already have my Q up, and I can use another W instantly after that to just gain another Q right off the bat, right? So you basically have 2 Q rotations versus 1 level 2, which gives you a strong level 2, and I personally really enjoy that. Also, the empowered auto attack makes farming under tower and also farming, generally speaking, a lot easier. And you can dash away to dodge skill shots. You can dash towards the enemy if they actually walk up too close, so you can auto them. So W has many different purposes, while Q is a bit more static and a bit more easy to use, but not that good in my opinion. The last thing that I want to say is E-start is something you can do, but I wouldn't really recommend it, because level 2 is really awkward then. Because what do you really like skill if you start E? W is kind of weird because EW doesn't give you anything. And EQ does kind of work, but I don't like it that much because you don't really have additional damage from a W. So E-start can be used if the enemies walk up too close, right? Let's say it's an Ahri, she uses RW auto to proc electrocute on you. She walks up, you press E onto her, you auto her twice, you get Electro, she gets Electro, it's an even trade, but I don't like it, to be honest. It's really something you can play around with, but you don't have to, okay? Okay, guys, let's actually start with the combos. I want to start off with early game combos from distance, okay? So what can you do to poke when you are, let's say, playing against a defensive matchup, alright? So let's say your enemy is standing here, you're playing against a Syndra. It's really simple, basically. You can, you always start with grass, that's the first thing, right? And then what you can do is you just poke with grass, and then you either grab ice or rock and then just move on. That's basically for level 1 and for level 2. I mean, not for level 1, but for level 2, right? You basically just poke with Q, grab another element, and then move on and keep playing the lane. Another poking combo from distance, right? So you don't really have to move up to the enemy is that you are actually using a minion to Q the enemy, right? This is for later parts of the lane, but this is still something I consider from distance and pre-6. You can also use it after 6, obviously, but this is something that's really, really helpful. You can either grab ice or grass, you know, depending on what your purpose is. And then you E onto a minion, you Q the enemy, and then you grab grass or you grab ice. I personally like doing this with grass. So you press EQ. Okay. Doing it on a champion is hard because Qiyana's EQ is buffered, so if I use EQ, it hits this one. But on a minion, it actually works. So if you E and then Q, you can grab ice and then just walk away, alright? And there's also one small trick right here. If you do that, so you press E, Q, you can walk to the side right here and then grab ice, and that way you stay in Shroud, and then you can just walk away and just keep playing your lane. So that's the next trading combo that you can use. So you can also use this combo to actually trade really hard. So that way you can basically press E, Q, W, Q, right? So you E onto a minion, you Q the enemy, and then you W, Q with rock. And that's basically the hardest damage output that you can get for a trading combo from distance if the enemy is actually standing behind your minions. This happens really often if the enemies are like standing, let's say, right here, okay? So enemies are standing here, the wave is actually standing here because they are staying on a tower. And that way you can basically really well just like EQ, WQ, and then walk away. And since it's a mini route, they can't really follow up, okay? Be careful with this though. If you E into the enemy right here and there's a jungler coming in the exact moment, you are basically dead because you just used your W, you used both Q rotations, and you used your E, so there's nothing you can use to actually run away. Okay, let's get over to close trading combos, pre-6. And this is actually the most important part, I would say. Okay, so the combo I'm using most of the time for the early game is basically E auto Q. So you E onto the enemy, you auto, and then you use Q. And you can cancel your auto with your Q, okay? So let's say you use E, auto, and then Q, right? If you wait out the entire auto tech animation, it's a bit slower. But if you use your Q mid-auto, you can actually cancel the auto tech animation. And that's how it looks really fast. Did you see that? It was like really tiny, really fast, really nice, you know? That's how you can trade extremely well early on. And after that, you can basically grab ice and run away, or you grab rock and keep going, okay? So let's say your enemy is actually standing here. And you see an angle, I don't know, Syndra uses her E, and now you can actually jump on her. She walks up too close, you E auto Q, and then you can either grab ice and run away, and then go for another trade after that. Or you can grab rock, right, and then just keep autoing the enemy down in Shroud, right? You just run them down because you have additional movement speed with your W. And then after that, after basically auto attacking them, you can try to finish it off with a Q. Or you can try to finish it off with an, I don't know, Q flash, right? So that's something that you can do after using E auto Q with grass. And I would always use it with grass because you are invisible after that. You drop minion aggro, which is really nice, and they can't trade back because you are basically invisible, right? So E auto Q with grass is just a really important early trading combo. What do you do against the matchups where you can't use E auto Q? This is really important, okay? Against Akali and against Sylas, this is huge, okay? You have to EQ immediately, because if you use E auto against Sylas and you want to Q after that, it can get really rough, because if they are fast, they can W you, which makes you lose the trade immediately, right? And they can E away while you are trying to auto attack them. And that's the same thing with Akali. She can just E away or use Shroud, right? But if you use EQ, since it's buffered, right? They can't really dodge the damage, they can't really react to it, and after that you can either W away, right? So you use EQ, and you can either W away and Q them, right? To close the gap, or not to close the gap, but to make some distance. And that way proc Electro. Or what you can also do, because they are just standing still in that scenario when you are using EQ, you can also auto and then W away to proc Electro. That's also one thing that you can do, right? So it's really depending on the situation, but this is a really nice combo into certain matchups where you can't really use E auto Q with grass. Okay, so these are basically all early trading combos that you can use, and now I want to talk about all-in combos pre-6, so without your R. So the first all-in combo that you can use on Qiyana pre-6 is EQ WQ. This is really simple. You EQ the enemy, and after using EQ you press WQ, and you can finish it off with an auto attack. You only want to do that if you know the enemy is going to die after that combo, basically. And if you do it fast enough, your second Q will come up while the enemy is rooted, so they can't really flash it. So I'm just going to show you that pretty quick. So you EQ WQ. And if you look closely at the rooted bar, you can actually see that the CC is still there while the second Q is actually being casted. Did you see that? It was like just picture perfect. And that's how fast you actually have to get at this. Alright, let's talk about the exact same combo, but combined with flash. Let's say your enemy is standing here, right, and you really want to kill them, but the gap is just way too big, and there are no minions that you could dash onto. What you want to do is you want to press E on them, and after you press E, you want to use flash, and you have to know your range for this, okay? So, that was just an EQ flash. So I buffered EQ, and then I used my flash. And while I was in the flash duration, I pressed Q, okay? So it's basically E flash. You can try to do that all the time and just practice it. E flash. E flash. It's much faster than flash E. If you press flash E, you are standing still for like a little bit, and it can really make the difference, trust me. I've been there, you know. And after that, E flash Q, right? What you want to do is you want to press WQ. So the same combo I did here, just with flash. So you press EQ, WQ, and then finish it off with an auto. And you only do that when you can kill the enemy. When you basically know, okay, if I do this combo now, the enemy will die, right? And they can't react to it unless they flash your flash, but then they are basically faker because it's like really, really hard to react to that, okay? Like EQ flash is just extremely fast, and you always want to use ice for that because they are rooted, right? And then you can just follow up and hit a guaranteed second Q auto. Even if they flash away after your Q, like you hit your Q and they flash away, you can always hit that last auto right here. So if you use that combo, this auto is always coming through. Just for your information, because you are still standing really close to them. Let's talk about the next auto combo pre-6, and that's basically QWEQ. This combo is actually quite easy. You just press Q onto the enemy, and then you W to rock, and you cancel your W animation with EQ. So let me just show you this pretty quick. You Q, you cancel your W animation with your E, and then you basically press EQ. WEQ. I repeat it. Okay, I just messed it up. Bro. WEQ. There we go. WEQ. And you can actually just do this as a drill. And just see how fast you can get with it, okay? It's really good, especially if people are actually chasing you. So let's say this Syndra, right, is chasing me. And she doesn't know that I can actually kill her with that, right? She's chasing me, I'm running away, and then I'm just doing this to her. Like, she's running into me, and then I can Ice Q her, WEQ her, right? Or you can also combine this with Flash. You can basically Q Flash WEQ. Q Flash WEQ. It's just a really nice combo, and it catches people off guard really often. But you can only really do that if you can clearly hit your Q, right? So EQ, WQ is most of the time the combo that you're using, but I just want this to be there as an like option that you can use. Let's go for all-in combos with your R, right? Since we have the tiny small early game stuff out of the way, let's jump into the R stuff, you know? The first thing is combos where you are using your R first, okay? So you are initiating the combo with your R. The first one I actually want to cover here is when you are standing really close to the enemy. You actually have to stand close to the enemy for this one. You R auto them, so you can you can auto people while they are being knocked back. So you can R auto them. Okay, that's the first part of the combo. And after using R auto, you can basically press QWEQ. So the combo that I just showed you. So let's do this slowly. R auto, QWEQ, and then you can even focus then you can even end the combo with one auto attack, okay? And now if you do this fast, this is actually how it works. I messed that one up. Bit clunky right now. I messed it up again. As you can see, like, Qiyana is not easy, okay? You have to practice this. There we go. Now I did hit it, okay? R auto QWEQ is the first one with R first. The next one is basically that you are doing like the same thing but without the auto attack and while using flash, okay? So you are basically pressing R flash and then QWEQ. Okay, so let's say the enemy is standing right here and he thinks, oh, like she's too far away to actually hit it. You can just R auto QWEQ. Okay, not R auto, sorry. R flash QWEQ, that way. So these are the two combos that you can use if the enemy is actually being hit by R first, right? So if you initiate the fight with R. Okay, so the next one that you can use is basically similar, right? So you R auto and then EQWQ. And this one is especially useful if you wanna like close the gap, alright? So you are basically like already really close to the enemy. So you R auto and then you are like standing next to the enemy after that, and then you can EQ WQ. And that way you are closing a distance right after the combo, okay? R auto QWEQ. Okay. And now we have the same combo just with flash, okay? And this just gets spicier, okay? So you press R flash while they are being knocked back, you press auto attack and then EQ WQ. Just like that. I'll do it a bit slower, okay. R flash, auto attack while they are being knocked back. And then EQ, WQ. Obviously I missed the second one, but you get the point. So let's do it once more. Just like that. R flash, auto attack, EQ, WQ. And if you do it properly, or you're like standing right here, your character will actually go to the side because your E is a fixed distance, right? So now we have combos where you are using your E first, okay? So you are basically initiating the combo with your E. You are most of the time doing this with Ice Q if you use your Q, right? So the first combo I want to cover right here is EQR W Q auto, right? So EQR W Q auto. EQRW auto Q is also something you can use. Actually, it's even better to use the auto attack and in the end because you are resetting your element, right? So EQRWQ, and now you're using the last auto attack right there. So let's repeat it. EQRWQ auto. And you can just repeat this over and over. EQRWQ auto. So the next combo is basically the same, just with flash. So you buffer your EQ again. EQ flash WQ auto. EQ flash R WQ auto. It's the same combo, just with flash. EQ flash R. Okay, I messed it up. Let me just do it again. My eyes are hurting, bro. So EQ flash R W Q auto. EQ flash R W auto Q or Q auto, as you prefer, right? EQ flash R W Q auto. As I said, it's just good to close the gap. And you have to buffer your E with flash. It's really important. I can just repeat it over and over again. I sound like a broken record at this point. So the next combo is without Q initiating it. The next combo is with ER initiating it. So you can E the enemy, right? And R them onto the wall. And then follow up with QWQ auto. Let's do it again. ER QWQ auto. Or auto Q. It doesn't really matter. It's the same damage output. And you can do the same thing with flash as well. So you basically E flash R, Q, W, Q auto. As I said, using the E is just, like, using the E flash is just there to close the gap and to surprise the enemy even further, right? Yeah, that's basically the only reason why you would ever use flash. And in master tier, it actually gets really important. Also in high diamond, because people are reacting a lot faster. So using flash in your combos is definitely something you shouldn't ignore, right? It's really important, actually. All right, so then we basically have using your Q first, right? So you want to initiate the combo with Q. There are only two combos that you can basically use that way. The first one is you either use ice or grass, and you're basically queuing the enemy, then R'ing them onto the wall, and then following up with combos, right? So the first one would be Q, R, and then while you are pressing the R, you can already W forward, right? Cancel your animations. And then you can auto Q while they are stunned. So let's repeat it, right? So you Q the enemy, you R them onto the wall. While they are being knocked back, you can take your W and then auto Q them, okay? Q, R, W, auto Q. And you can also do that with an E, right? And then it like hits guaranteed, okay? So you Q, R, W, EQ. Auto. Let's repeat it. Q, R, W, EQ, auto. Really simple. Alright, and now you can also use your R from range, of course, okay? Actually, I want to spam minions for this. Okay, so right here we actually have minions, okay? Let's say your enemy is standing here or they're standing on the tower, right? You can use a minion to initiate the combo. The first combo I want to show you right here is ER, right? So you eat a minion, then you R them, and then you follow up with Q, W, auto Q. Or you use your E within that combo, okay? So the next combo that you can use, so you ER, Q, W, EQ, auto. That's like the combo that I use most of the time to dive enemies like that. And you only really use those combos if you think that they are going to die after you use it, basically. Like, there's no point in using this if they are not going to die after that, right? So these are basically Qiyana's most important combos. I don't think that there is any other combo that's actually relevant. There's maybe one thing that I want to show you, but it's actually really simple. if you are standing close to an enemy, right? So let's say you used grass, okay? And you are in Shroud and you want to finish them off quickly. What you can do is you can grab Rock, walk up to them and then auto EQ. And you can cancel your auto attack animation with your EQ. So that's another combo that's really important, I think. And you can definitely use that one. But apart from that, I think we just covered every single Qiyana combo that you can use. And that's really important. Q, W, auto EQ. Alright, and now that we talked about everything regarding Qiyana, we are actually jumping into a live game, and I will show you how I apply these things in my day-to-day league grind. So yeah, let's jump into it. Alright guys, here we are in Champ Select. We are getting things started right now. As for bans, you might as well ask what are you banning Edo, and for me personally it's Rengar. Like, I hate Rengar more than anything else in the game. I've been banning this champion for 3 years now. And I don't think there's any counterplay to a good Rengar player. I'm not saying the champ is generally broken, but in the right hands, it's just so hard to play against it. So that's why I ban it every single game. We have a Karma pick already. Karma is probably playing mid lane though, since Zed was banned, right? Alright, so as you can see, we are playing against Taliyah and we are playing against Nunu Jungle. Taliyah is an interesting matchup because you can either go for the Inspiration 3, which is totally fine, or you can also go for the Resolve 3 with Second Wind and with Overgrowth. I personally enjoy going for Inspiration because I'm quite comfortable in the matchup and I know how to play it. Yeah, I'm not really scared of it, and I also know how to dodge the stuff that she's throwing at me most of the time, so I should be fine with this, and I'm resetting early anyways. So yeah, we are playing Electrocute here, we are playing Inspiration. This is my most used rune page, basically. And of course, double adaptive force and health, and we are going for TP, because we are TPing back to lane after a couple of minutes, if it works for us, right? So let's move on into the game. So as you can see, this game is played in Emerald, so it's not complete low elo, it's not high elo, it's just a mid-range. So I can show you everything that I just explained and just briefly go over everything that I'm thinking about in a game and how I use my combos, which items I'm going for, stuff like that. Okay guys, we just got into the game. Against Taliyah, I will go for Longsword and Refillable, as always. This is basically what I go for in most of my games. And basically what you are playing for is you are playing for an early Dirk, right? So with these runes, with Triple Tonic and the Elixir that you get at level 3, you are getting Dirk really, really early. This is already something I talked about in the item section, right? And also with DMAT, you can get minions that are just hard to get, generally speaking. It's not rocket science, right? On a higher level, it can be important, like which minion you DMAT, but I think for you, it's really just DMAT a cannon if you really want a wave, get shoved in. And if not, I would, generally speaking, DMAT 2 backline minions and 1 frontline minion, so you can get some really nice wave clear in. And also, I will show you a tip with wave clear if the right situation actually pops up. So yeah, let's take a look at this game and just see how it goes. So against Taliyah, I mean, she has first strike, right? I will probably still just start W, grab my grass W right here, and then I like to not show up too early, okay? Just to see what she's doing. Okay, and now she's already in a really bad spot, actually, because I can just run her down. Walk behind her right here. And I hard won that trade, by the way. Okay, I dodged that. And we both missed all 3 minions, right? But she's extremely low. So I definitely won that. It was net positive for me, of course. Now I'm just trying to auto minions down, right? I have Ice Q right now. And I can maybe even try to proc her first strike here. Use 2 Ice Qs, so she can't walk up. See? This is the reason why I used Ice Q. The Qs didn't really reach me. And now I'm grabbing grass, so I can maybe Q forward, hit level 3 with it, invis. And then move on and maybe even, like, first blood her. Using another pot here. So I'm getting level 3 here. Just like that. And she dies. I'm going to use my pot immediately. She does have TP, so I will get the cannon. I missed the cannon. Great stuff. Actually, because I missed the cannon, like, I will just stay right here, you know, get the wave shoved in. And the trick that I'm talking about is this one, okay? So you walk up to the minion and you use your Q hitbox like that. So you can hit multiple minions at once. She's not killing me here, by the way. I'm just getting the wave shoved in. And now we are just taking a reset, getting Dirk, and TPing back into lane, or even just walking back into lane. She can push the wave pretty fast though, so let's actually TP back into it. Exactly. And now I can demat this minion, auto that one, get some autos in right here, use the hitbox that I was talking about, and get the next wave shoved in early as well. I will grab grass here. As I said, grass is your most used element. And now I'm just trying to dodge out on abilities, right? And I'm basically trying to proc her first strike before she can actually use it on me. Just like that. I W away. She used her E ability, right? So now I can use this combo that I talked about, right? E on the minion and then WQ her. Because she was actually way too exposed right there. And now we grab ice, and now we can use another combo that I just showed you, which is EQ WQ. With flash, alright? Look at this. Just like that. And she can't do anything against it. I used EQ buffered, right? With flash. And she can't do anything against it. And if this Nunu actually messes up, she's going to die as well. See? Use your Q hitbox right there. Walk up close to the minions. And now I shove in one more wave. And after that, we will just take a reset. Just like that. And now she will probably try to interrupt my back. So we are moving back right here. And yeah, life is good. Life is really good. Now you have different options with items, okay? I really like boots here, but I also like to go for profane. And for one pink ward. So I'll just go pickaxe and now build into profane. Boots would have been a good buy because I would have also been earlier in lane. With 1k gold you can buy different stuff. You could buy Ionian boots, you could buy Rectrix if you want to rush Yumos. But I personally really enjoy going for that early profane. Now we are just looking for either one more solo kill on the Talia. Okay, I just used my pot because I actually thought that I could maybe ER her onto this wall right there. By the way, if I get a good R in right here, she will just die. Okay, never mind. I got outtraded really hard right there. I thought that would hit. I won't get out. Okay, that's a bit tragic, but I mean it is what it is. Right now I could go for boots and longsword, or I just get brutalizer, right? But I think I will go for boots and longsword because it's the most efficient buy. As you can see, we are destroying this Talia quite hard. We already have 3 kills. I could have played that a lot cleaner. The first trade that I took was really unclean. Okay. Always use a W and walk close to walls, so you are actually getting to lane a lot faster, okay? And then when you reach lane, you can grab grass again and just move on. So I'll just shove this wave in. There's no point in actually playing it slow or stuff like that. Dodge out on her W. Hit her with my Q. Proc her for a strike, right? And now we just play around our bot side river because we have some really nice vision there. Nunu could be coming right here, so I have to be a bit careful. She also just used that plant, so she's guaranteed mid lane. So we are just playing it slow right now, you know. getting waves shoved in and then looking for opportunities with my jungler. I'll just place another pink because Nunu just removed mine. Okay, I proc her for strike again. Yeah, okay, Nunu is just really annoying actually. Sadly, it's actually quite hard to do something if this Nunu sits Talia permanently. And I don't know where Nunu is, so I will just hover my Zek here. It could actually happen that my Nunu wants to invade him. But I think everything looks fine. They could be doing grubs too. So let's ping that. Oh, and also I think this looks like a great opportunity to maybe even one-shot her. It's really hard to one-shot a Talia for one reason. She can permanently use abilities. So Eing into the minions is actually not that easy, but it's okay. Let's actually play around this fight right here. They have no vision. Okay, we got one. And now we leave. Just leave, just leave, just leave. There's no way. We stay. And try to get this wave shoved in. So I just waited there, because I knew they had no vision, right? I got creep blocked really hard. I just waited there because I knew they had no vision. I will hit level 9 of this though.
An enemy has been slain.
Okay. I just heal onto that minion, use Q and then grab WQ. I could stay here and grab one more wave, but I am relatively close to Profane and I can just TP back into lane as well. Also the wave is just slow pushing into me right now. Yeah, as I said, Talia is just really annoying, but you can deal with her if you play it properly. Let's TP onto that and always make sure to use your gold that you have left basically. For me it was like one long sword that I had left. And instead of waiting, right, and not buying it and just waiting for Profane right there because I had like, I don't know, 400 gold. And I could have been like, yeah, let's wait for it. I think it's a much better decision to spend the gold right away and just be stronger in fights. So we can actually run bot lane here. Karma is running right into me. Just like that, and now we continue. I can W over. I'm pretty sure.
What can someone do for me?
Nunu is probably either at her red or standing right here. There we go. She's just extremely squishy, you know. And I know that since I'm 4 levels ahead. Alright, I don't know what this Talia is doing. But at this point it's just like over, you know. I have 8 kills, and we just used fundamentals and the combos that I told you. It's actually that easy. I can get a plating here. Actually it's a bit unnecessary, but I think one more plating will give me boots as well. So let's do that. And I'll take a reset. Maybe I also miscalculated it. Probably it's quite late here in Germany. But yeah, so let's move on. Let's get Profane. Let's get boots. And I think we are going for Hubris this game because we are quite fat. Now it's really important that you don't throw the game without like any reason, you know. This happens really often, especially in Emerald, Diamond. Also in Masters it happens often enough to me as well. I throw so many games, it's kind of crazy. And now this Talia is actually dead. Yep, just like that, 1 WQ would kill. She overextended there, she used the W without any reason, and you can't do that against Qiyana, like, you're just going to die, you know. Nunu could come here, but if she comes I can just Q, W, EQ her, and go. And by the way, the combo I used here is also something I showed. It was E flash R Q W Q auto. So I'm actually using those combos. It's not just for like showing it, you know, in the guide and then not using it. It's actually being used really often, you know. It's your bread and butter. I need a bit more gold for Hubris. So we are just waiting for that.
Empress Qiyana. I do like the sound of that.
Okay, I mean she's inting, but I can still show you the combo, okay. I just used Q, W, E, Q, both with Rock though. And then I used Profane to finish it off. I probably didn't even need Profane, but... this looks very promising. I kinda have to run there. So let's do that. There we go. I basically just used ER and Profane, and it was already enough to kill them. So we are putting on a show. I mean, it's Emerald, right? So it's not really high, but still. It's just here to like... I'm just here to show you the combos. And to show you how I'm actually approaching games with Qiyana. Rift Herald is up, but I actually really want to get this tower. So we will just do that and then take a reset to get with this. Yeah, this Talia is just inting, like, I broke her. Yeah, let's get Hubris, and now we are building into Grudge. Okay, both top lane has died, I think, so I can basically just TP top. The reason why I'm TPing top as well is because Herald is up, right? So I can get the tower and then just do Herald with my team, which should translate into a very nice win.
Your team has destroyed a turret. An ally has been slain.
Yeah, I'm on my way. Okay, I didn't really play it that clean, but it's okay. I mean, what can I say?
An enemy has been slain.
It's okay. Okay, I dodged the thing. And I think I should actually be able to kill him, right? There we go. Just a quick WEQ. I mean, it's just like... At this point, I'm just way too fat. But I think the early game was quite clear.
Servants, my palanquin. Servants, we
Oh, okay, rest in peace. It's never too late to throw the game. I could have also just focused on the Nunu, but I was a bit confused because I tried to E over the wall to EQWQ the Karma. But the range was not quite there, so that's a bit unfortunate. Actually, we should do Herald and not Drake. Like, Herald is much more important here because we can use it to end.
An enemy has been slain.
I can basically just ping those towers. And also I can just run this Talia down. Like, I don't know what she's doing. I don't even know if it's worth it, but...
the ground obeys.
I mean, I have to run somewhere, you know.
I command you to die.
EQ, WQ. Rip. I actually missed my initial Q. My team is actually starting to int a little bit, and we don't like that.
One throw, my sisters. Blind
Let's run mid lane here,
Slain.
catch waves, and just wait for objectives to come up.
just like that.
I just hit 2 Qs on her, E the minion, Q the Caitlyn, use one more WQ.
Best. That is what is desire.
Nunu just appeared right here. Where is she? I think she took a reset maybe. Q her with grass, W over the wall with rock, and then use auto EQ. I should be side laning. I shouldn't be messing around here with my bot lane. I can just eat a tower here, like, eat the minion and hit the tower. Okay, I mean, we got her.
Excuse me?
Let's get the tower. And then take a reset. I mean, can we actually just end? This looks like an end angle. Oh god, I'm dying again. But I guess we're getting the nip for it. Actually, we are not. Gangplank is coming. I will be going for Edge of Night next. It's a really nice item, generally speaking. I could also go for, like in this game, going for Axiom Arc is probably even better, right? Because I'm so far ahead. So let's do that. And then just ping Nash here. Because with Nash we can just end easily.
Your team has destroyed a turret.
That was no crushing. That was merely
I really want them to help me here. I think this is really free.
being young means
Talia is bot side, and she probably doesn't have the eyes to TP. Wait a second.
nah, you've got to
Pushed away first, and now we can actually go for it. Oh, we could have kept going. Ah, it's okay. Just to Nash now. Gangplank is dead and he's the only strong member on the enemy team. Honestly, on Nash, you just want to reset your elements. And then auto the Nash down, and then grab Rock for the last point, and then you can basically... And then you can basically just finish the Nash off. Okay, I can't really do that. She was really fast because of Karma. It's okay though. We have Nash right now. So we can basically just end the game off that. Let's get Axiom.
Enemy has been slain.
And ping my team to end.
carry on.
Can end... I mean, they can't see.
I know what they are thinking.
I usually have chat disabled because I don't like interactions. Basically, it's really annoying in League. Like, people are just so toxic. Zach wants to do Drake first, which is actually not needed. By the way, also something I really like to do is, so you can basically Q and then grab another Q, and that way you can just walk into bushes, you know. Okay, I got 2 kills. My ult is almost up again. And now we can just end the game. I mean, Talia is just inting at this point. Like, she's just side laning all the time, doing nothing. I broke her basically in lane. Now we are going to the finish line. So guys, that's basically it. I mean, use your combos properly, play the lane properly. That was just a Q, W, EQ with Profane in the end. You always want to use Profane in the end, as a general rule of thumb. So what was I about to say? Yeah, use your combos properly, play the lane properly. I just explained basically everything pretty briefly. For most things, you basically need matchup knowledge, right? So learning matchups is a big part. I can't really explain that in one video. But I hope the rest was actually quite clear. I hope you understood everything. The guide was really helpful. If it was, make sure to drop a like and subscribe. It was a lot of work, you know, and I would really appreciate that. So, yeah, thanks for all the support, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.